Nathan. I am the youth minister at Autumn Creek Baptist Church. God and Jesus in my life growing up, it wasn't really a thing. You know, my parents took the notion or the stance of if they want to know, then they'll ask. And, you know, no fault of their own. I didn't know, so I didn't ask. And but I was taught the world. I was taught about the world and how to operate in it and how things worked and all that. I thought I was good. I thought I was doing good, and then I was just going along one day, and then, you know, I met somebody at work. You know, we were talking back and forth constantly, and he, to his credit, he was trying to minister to me and witness and show me what Jesus has done in his life and everything. And then I go and talk to my wife, and she was like, yeah, he's right. And I was just like, okay, well, maybe there's something here, but I'm stubborn and half stupid and 3/4 dumb. So I decided not to listen at the time and just kept going about my ways. And then I found myself in a conversation that I had for the first time ever, no argument. I had no argument. We were talking about God and salvation and how all this works, and I'm over here like throwing philosophy, throwing the world, and throwing everything that I can, and that's stumped people in the past. And it's always been like, all right, well, yeah, let's just let this conversation die, and then I'd say something, and it would be, all right, yeah, everything's over and done with. And then this guy got loud. He got loud with me about this. And said one phrase, and it still sticks with me to this day. Is like, what's the distance between heaven and earth? Now in my head, in my over literal self, I'm like trying to calculate distance from sea level to the moon, and then maybe the stratosphere, and how maybe it's somewhere in there. And while I'm doing all this, and then I hear it. It's like, it's 14 inches. So, and then me being a smart person, lifted my foot off the ground about 14 inches, was like, what, so we're already here? And then he hit me with, the second that you accept Jesus from your head into your heart, you're already in the kingdom. The next day we were driving around doing stuff with my in-laws. I had stopped at one point and got out of the car and was like, I'd never really asked myself, is Jesus my Lord and Savior? And, I had said it, I was like, yeah, of course, yeah. And then that still small voice for the first time ever, God showed his face to me. I heard it in the back of my head. It's like, yeah, but have you ever said it out loud? And I did, right then and there. I can take you to the spot in my yard where it happened, because immediately right then and there, my entire world and my entire psyche that I had built up in my head over 32 years, over 32 years of the world had exploded. And I had nothing. I didn't know what was real. I didn't know what was going on. And then I got told, look up. And I looked up, and I know how this sounds, but it happened. I looked up, and I saw him. Now, why that's such a big deal is, like, over the years, I would mock Jesus, I would mock the religion and all that, and say, when Jesus himself comes and looks me dead in the eye and says, all right, let's go, it's time, and I always painted him in this, comical kind of costume or whatever. And well, when you look up and see a silhouette in the clouds and hear the words, Nathan, it's time, it's not a joke anymore. And the whole time on my way here, I was like, all right. And I was talking to Jesus, and I was like, all right, whatever it is, if this is real, like, make the sermon about something difficult. I don't want sunshine and rainbows. I want something real, something that's hard for people to understand. And I want to see a pastor try and tackle that. Yeah, the first day I got here, it was Dale Inman, and he was preaching on abortion. So I kind of won that. And I remember I was sitting there, and as soon as he was like, "Oh, this is what I'm preaching about," I sat back in my chair and said the words out loud. I was like, "All right, you win. I'm yours." Yeah, and then that was earth-shattering, but it left me with a lot of questions. Like, what's next? What do I do? What come? Okay, I'm here now. What now? And I was like, all right, well, talk to my wife, talk to Danny, talk to Billy. I'm like, all right, well, what's the next step? The next step is baptism. Well, what's that? Obedience? Okay.
How did it feel to get baptized? Especially getting baptized by me.
I thought it was gonna feel like something was completed, but it felt like something was getting started. Does that make sense? I felt like that was, going up to it was like, all right, he just needs to know I'm obedient, I'm his. Okay, okay, I understand, let's get it done so I can, all right, let's get it done. And then I got it done, and it was like, it was complete but incomplete. Like it felt like the start of something more, afterwards it felt like it was like, okay, now what? Whereas right before it was like, okay, no, I need to do this. And that, like, there wasn't any vision afterwards. It was just, this is what I got to do. And to be honest, it had to be Danny. He was the guy that lit that fire. That was a bunch of sticks soaking in gasoline. He was the one that lit that fire, and he was the one that told me that and I had that conversation in the warehouse late at night, and he doesn't remember it, but everything that was said, and that really changed everything. So if you don't think discipleship works, I'm right here. That's how all this started. I got to know a guy at work. So it had to be him. Imperfect people trying to serve a perfect God. If you look for that, one, you'll find it here. Two, if you start looking for that, you'll find it. If you're looking for a place that makes you comfortable and everybody's nice and everything that you do is okay in the eyes of God, don't worry. It makes you a little too comfortable, you might not be in the right place. Because church, yes, while you come here to be fed and hear the word proclaimed, it's not meant to make you feel comfortable all the time. I mean, yes, love on each other, which is very prominent here. So much, just everybody cares so much. I'm not saying don't do that, but just understand that, learn to discern what's being comfortable and when you're being told what you want to hear. Because if you're being told what you want to hear, you're in the wrong place. If you're being told something to challenge you to read the Bible and pray to Jesus yourself, then you're in the right place. Something told me, like, about while ago that I was like, okay, these kids are listening too intently. There's too many like follow-up questions on everything that I was teaching, and I was like, okay, is this what I'm supposed to do? And I don't know if I'm right or wrong necessarily for doing this, but people in the Bible have done it. So I don't want to say I challenged God, but I wanted him to show me, and like that's what I was supposed to be doing. And I was like, my biggest thing for a while was like, nobody likes talking to me. Nobody wants to ask me questions. Spiritual guide. Okay, I gotta know what's going on in order to guide somebody spiritually. And I was just like, nobody talks to me. Nobody asks me these questions. And I was like, you know what? The kids start talking to me, start asking me this stuff, then I know what you're doing. And I got an idea, at least. And I didn't tell anybody. Yeah, I couldn't. But shortly after that, it was, okay, now this person's coming to me with an issue and wants advice. Now this person does, now this person. And then what I'm saying is not coming from me. It's a different feeling. Where it's like, I'm not 100% on what I just said. But they're like, north, south, got it, thank you, and move on. And I'm just there like, okay, so that told me that this is what I'm supposed to do. And I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. Let it be. And then I can't even remember exactly how ordination came about. And I had asked, when I'd asked Billy and all that, what it was, and help me understand the kind of deal. And he told me, he's like, you gotta know that you know that you know. And I went into his office one morning before service and was like, look, if that's what this is, to know that I'm supposed to do this, and this is it, this is how everything is supposed to be, then I'm there. I know this is what I'm supposed to do.